UN officials and their Ivorian counterparts meet to start negotiations on delimiting the maritime borders. Japan's economy grew less than expected at the end of last year, countering forecasts it would see higher spending ahead of sales tax increase in April. Swiss authorities say the co-pilot of an Ethiopian airline plane flying from Addis Ababa to Rome has hijacked the aircraft and landed in Geneva. Those are our top stories for the hour. My name is Kimini Nyamani, and I'll bring you details of those stories and plenty more in a moment. And welcome to News Today. Now, management of the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital say the body of the missing baby that's disappeared at the hospital in the past days still cannot be located. According to Chief Executive Officer Professor Ohene Ejei, it is due to the inability of the orderly at the labor ward, who has allegedly admitted taking away the packaged body, to indicate its whereabouts. He was speaking at a press conference in Kumasi. Ashanti Regional Correspondent Mohammed Mahmoud Nuruddin filed this report.
In the first place, management wishes to place on record that there's no theft of baby or babies at the hospital, as being alleged by the family and a section of the media. The baby under reference was born, and the mother duly attested to the fact by thumbprinting against the entries on the incident in the stillbirth record book of the labor ward and also in her own patient folder. The dead body was shown and also placed on her to establish the state in which it was born before it was weighed and the necessary records made. What management, however, admits is that the body of this stillborn baby cannot be located as today. This is due to the inability of the orderly at the labor ward, who has admitted taking away the package in which the body was kept, to indicate exactly where the body was taken to. Usually, what happens is that when the labor ward registered a stillbirth and all the entries have been made and attested to by the mother, it is wrapped in a polythene material and placed in a small box. This box is clearly labeled to capture the name of the mother of the child, sex, and other details, and placed at a specific location where it is later picked by the mortuary attendants, who will countersign in the stillbirth record book to confirm that the corpse has been taken away to the morgue. Management again wishes to discredit the notion that the corpse of the baby was burnt. This is because the hospital incinerator where the baby was allegedly taken to by the orderly had not been used for 5 days prior to the alleged incidents.
Now, Ghana and Ivory Coast are meeting over their maritime borders. The area which stretches over the maritime boundary between the countries is said to hold significant reserves of crude oil and equally substantial amounts of natural gas. I spoke earlier with John Peter Amau, who is Director, Policy and Research at ASEP, on News Desk. Take a look.
Ghanaians need to move away from thinking that this problem is going to be resolved shortly. It will never be resolved. Notwithstanding the difficulties of resolving the issue, there are provisions that allow states to agree to even continue exploitations in disputed areas. And I think this is what we should be looking at. That even though disputes arise, which we all accept, there must be an opportunity for both states to continue to do exploitation in a matter that allows them to gain effective exploitations of the reservoir. And so, irrespective of the agreement, what can be done immediately is to form what we call the JDZ. It is important for Ghanaians and those who are championing this cause to realize that you don't need a delimitation boundary to constitute a JDZ, not at all. you need that to constitute what we call a transnational unitization. This case, as I understand, if the reservoir that is in question straddles between two boundaries that have been agreed on, then we can be thinking of trying to resolve this by delimitation. Now that both countries are not agreeing, we have to use that area as a neutral zone and constitute a common fiscal regime to go ahead with the exploitation. My fear is that if you refuse to do this, then it opens the door for both countries to undertake what we call the rule of capture, which will allow competitive drilling, and this will affect the reservoir, and it also poses environmental issues. We can only establish that if the committee is able to come out that the reservoir under question straddles between the two boundaries. That if applies in Ghana and Ivory Coast. If it is the same reservoir, which is in question, yes, then competitive drilling can lead to rule of capture.
Now, some displaced victims of the Acquah demolition exercise have pitched camp at the Circle or Donna stretch of the Accra and Sawam rail line. The area is also home to migrants and other displaced people who find it safe and convenient. Etanamsei has the rest of the story.
Another slum in the making, this time along the Circle or Donna stretch of the Accra and Sawam rail line. It's not just a path for commuters. Many here call it home. Meet 23-year-old Taini, who hails from Bogatanga. She lives in a makeshift structure sited in a pool of waste water cut off from the main Odo storm drain.
Inti baby affairs na yetino ya wo kiosk wa yetim sisi a no ma bebubu ha se train kwan nta ya train ba o mu hu kwan ni so yiye nti ma bebubu kiosk no wa inti sisi a no hwe baby ansuo na ata da ho edura nwumra ho na yeda na ju ya hwe menim we ayekoko ntontom e na tom nti ma wo so sa menim na ayekoko nti eni baby a yeda nti o ka omo boa ya na ka ya nye baby na ya boa ya kiosk so na ya yeda na esu atine mu atime ahwe ya nkwala na omuko school wa no nti ya sa na uni baby akọ udi nkwala nso ko sire mu ko jawo na se onhwe nkwala na ma wa na omuko school a obehu se na wo sa ba ha no obehu se omo frɛ wo akora no pese obeko school.
It's a shelter for the family.
Sire mu de ejuma no na omo aban se obeboa omo ni omo nsa ho juma tele ne hairdresser bibi se ba omo fa bi ba ya nyina de ya nya bi ntia na ya de ya na ya ba ha no so abe kakra na ya san akọ.
Taini's story is not different from that of Nana Yao, 31, who had to move here when his home in Acquah was pulled down in a demolition exercise. He sleeps off on the rail line on a piece of cardboard every night since he was forcefully ejected from home.
Kofi Dubai, wababu ye dai. Wakodi bronya o Dubai no. O bubu ye da no. Entoto wi yere ne yema. Ya na mekonim. Ya na mekonim na sesi am da tendade mu. Aha na me da. Woduru nipa ho a won kan hu se o se obo ma no wo hene ba. Ka che Kofi Dubai, do mama. Ye friend Kofi Dubai, ma tun di Kofi Dubai. Kwa am Lord na me ka no. Me si ma tun di Kofi Dubai. Fo anyo mani ya na ho be kire ne pa.
Kwame also lives here with his family. He earns a living as a carpenter.
Eddie, Obana be who said any party daha, na say is you with ha, and Tontomon say, and Tontomberio, Yenso Ahana Edano. Ye pay an Edrian, say I, Yenso Irene, my being be Eddie, and one a Juma way, and one I may a dish, Irene member, you crankolani, and one I'm the show.
Kwame moved to the Accra Railway area after his landlord ejected him from his Kokomlemle apartment for non-payment of rent. The area has become a haven for many people, but not exactly safe as it meters away from the Accra and Sawam rail line. Yet another slum developing in the heart of the city. Etanamsei, Joy News.
Let's go back to our earlier story on the missing stillborn at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital. Let's speak to ASP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko, the Ashanti Regional Police PRO. Hello, ASP.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us on News Today.
You're most welcome.
Right. What assurance do these nurses who are afraid to come back to work have as far as safety is concerned?
Hello.
Hello, ASP Tanko.
Yeah, I didn't get your question well.
Right, I'm asking, what assurance are you giving the nurses to go back to work?
We have a lot of assurance for them. We've already had meetings with them over the weekend, and we've assured them that every security arrangement that is necessary has been provided. We have men at all the exits and entry points of the hospital. We also have men inside the hospital. We have CID men who are around taking information. We also have our patrol men outside who are patrolling. And in case there's anything that is beyond those teams, we have our standby team at the regional headquarters who will move in to assist. The arrangements are so tight that it will be very difficult for anybody to be able to overrun us.
Right. So then it's safe. Let's speak about the 3 or 4 persons you picked up after the rioting at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital. What's the latest with them? Have you officially charged them?
Last Friday, we took them to court and they were remanded to reappear on the 25th of this month. Investigation is ongoing to try and arrest more, and we are doing our very best.
Does it not shift focus from finding the baby to dealing with persons who had gone there to demand the body of the baby?
The issue about the security arrangements at the hospital and also the people who we have arrested are being handled by the regional CID. And the issue about the missing baby is also being handled by the central police station. So there are different people within our institution who are handling the cases. So there wouldn't be any interruption or anyone will not overshadow the other.
But you do admit, as things are now, it seems as though arresting these Zongo youth who besieged the hospital seems to have overshadowed finding the baby.
Yeah, the arrest of the guys and their commotion at the hospital has brought another twist to the whole issue of investigation. But it has not overshadowed the investigations that we are doing. And I did indicate to you that we have 2 separate police institutions or police units who are handling the cases. And so far as we are concerned, the investigations into finding the baby or to confirm that the baby is dead is ongoing, and nothing has thwarted it. And we'll see through it to its logical conclusion, whilst we are also ensuring that doctors and nurses at the hospital go about their legitimate businesses without fear and insecurity. And also we are ensuring that patients come and go in an atmosphere of peace.
I see. And so, how about finding the baby? What's the latest with that?
Yeah, we've been able to take statements from nurses at the hospital. We took statements from one Baba Atibi some time ago. That was about a week ago, and we released him on bail. We've rearrested him to assist with the investigation, and that aspect of the investigation is ongoing. So whatever we are able to get at the end of the day, we'll put it into the public domain.
Does it look like we are finding the baby?
For now, it is very difficult because we've not found any baby, and we haven't found any leads that will lead us to any baby. By the way, the hospital is saying the baby died, and it is the parents and there are people who are disputing. So we are trying to investigate to confirm whether or not the baby died, and if the baby didn't die, where the baby is.
I see. Let's come back to the issue of the commotion. I mean, borrowing your words, the commotion at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital when the youth of Zongo thronged at the hospital premise. We also saw in the video we captured how some of your men treated these men, these young people. Is that a source of concern for you?
Yeah, the last time I spoke to you, you raised that issue, and I was telling you that we don't have evidence to that effect, and you told me you have footage. So I was expecting that maybe your regional correspondent will present us with that footage so that we'll be able to see exactly what happened. We contacted them, but we've not been able to get that. So if you have the footage, let's see it, and if some wrong were done, we'll try to correct them and take the necessary action.
I see. Thank you very much, ASP Tanko. We've been talking to ASP Mohammed Tanko, his PRO for the Ashanti Regional Police Command. Let's move on to something else. And Chairman of the National Democratic Party, Dr. Josiah Ayer, says Ghana is in a state of leaderlessness, despite having a precedent. Speaking at a special regional conference in the Ashanti region where interim regional executives were elected to steer the affairs of the party, Dr. Josiah Ayer said the party would not be deterred by any element in implementing its vision.
We are here and we are trying to rise again to get exactly to where we were before and move on from there to victory. That is why we are calling this conference, and tactically and strategically we're calling it in our stronghold, the Ashanti region, because we wish to send a resounding message everywhere, in every political quarter right across this country, that we are back, and we are back with a bounce. As I said before, well over a year ago, there was a buzz in this country. We want to realize that buzz again, and we want to implement the vision that we had before, because we know and we believe that we can do a job. But one question that I never tire of asking myself is how come that when given the freedom of choice to act of our own volition, we act in such a way that we end up in a situation and a condition of real leaderlessness. Yes, indeed, we are leaderless. We are without a manager. We are managerless. How come that we Ghanaians are very proud people would have a situation like that? When people come out of a camp and tell you that all is not well, I tell you, you better believe them. There are those who come out and who have no agenda at all, who will simply embark on a torrent of insolence and insults and calling people's names. When given the chance, they prove that indeed they have no alternative.
Now, residents of Acquah in Sraha East may not have been in the news for a while, but that does not quite mean their problems are over. After tents given to them by NADMO were taken away some 2 weeks ago, the Tema Development Corporation has now moved in to clear the debris from the site. Ya Jemfi was at the site and reports.
It's been 3 weeks since residents of Acquah were rendered homeless by a demolition squad from the Tema Development Corporation. But their predicaments did not just end as 2 weeks ago. Tents provided by NADMO were also removed and taken away by some security personnel from TDC. Excavators clearing the debris and leveling the ground could not be missed Saturday morning.
Well, this morning, all of a sudden, we saw these bulldozers, tippers, soldiers guiding them. They came to the area, starting from the northern part of the area. Then they start heaping up the debris of the demolished houses, and then they started charting them away. We learned a parliamentary committee set up by the Right Honorable Duajaho will be visiting this place on Tuesday. So reliable information had it that they do not want the committee to find out what actually has gone wrong. as regards the demolition, hence their action.
Residents who are still in shock watched on as debris were cleared from the site. They say they are in a fix as to what to do next. The affected persons whose tents are close to the area now being cleared say they had been threatened by the security personnel.
Yento manyabo wa repum yento manyabo repum va vantoy ta kabane tona malo nyonu ma joya fe fi menyem ya de gbom onye fi otami joy mi ade
no ani so omusi ye be si omu tutu kura ye be omu pia na to no kura omu sisa ye be da ha no omusi ye da ha o me ba be bu ye anaju apam ye wa sa no mkai omu so ba bu ye anaju apam ye wa hase.
For fear of losing their lives, some pack the rest of their belongings to seek shelter a little further from where the excavators were working. Others, however, say they are not moved by the threats and insist on staying on the land till they are compensated.
The government said the Bible says the enemy so only because men were just almost discovered free. God often now on 20 time. So one way
The Parliamentary Select Committee on Housing is scheduled to visit the site next week for further investigations into the matter.
The Cape Coast South constituency of a New Patriotic Party has organized a massive Keep Fit exercise dubbed Boys Abroad to register their protest on the current economic challenge in the country.
At the Victoria Park in Cape Coast, where sympathizers of the party converged, speaker after speaker reiterated the need for the government to come out with a clear-cut policy that would ensure best results for the economy. They, however, assured the people that the NPP would come into power in 2016 to save Ghanaians from what they term the untold hardship. The Cape Coast South parliamentary candidate of the NPP for the 2012 elections, Alfred Thompson, said the government should do away with the lackadaisical reactions to present issues and let Ghanaians know the way forward.
Why the young boys and girls, everybody is saying that we are suffering in this country. Within the last 3 years, things have changed so much that we don't really know what is going on. We need a direction in this nation. As a leader, he should come out with a clear-cut direction.
Don't go away. I'm glad you stayed. Let's do some business now. Start off with energy and petroleum. A minister in charge in Ghana, Emmanuel Boa, has charged the Volta River Authority and other power producers to explore more avenues to sustain power supply in the country. According to him, the demand for electricity is growing at a fast pace, and the country will need more modes of power generation in addition to ongoing energy projects, particularly the Ghana gas plant.
The Minister for Energy and Petroleum, Emmanuel Boa, was addressing the newly inaugurated 7-member board of the Volta River Authority together with the 7-member board of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited, BOST.
Our country's power generation and needs are growing rapidly. This year, we've chalked another record where our annual demand for electricity is now beyond 12%. It is growing and growing every day. And it's very critical that VRA, as the key power generator, must begin to look at all the options that we have. Government has set as its mandate to look at renewable energy and at least have 10% of our energy, our generation capacity coming from renewable sources. We note that VRA in the last year has added 2 megawatts in renewable. This year they intend to add 12 megawatts in renewable solar, but we think that VRA can do more. VR must begin aggressively to explore.
He added that although the gas project will soon be completed, the unpredictable gas flow from Nigeria has affected planning, leading to the current load management program. He also charged BOST to promote the use of LPG in rural communities and ensure the vandalization of pipelines is curtailed.
It is very, very clear that in the past we've also had challenges with the vandalization of pipelines across the country. It is up to the board to help make sure that we can come up with strategies to ensure that the pipelines are protected and also that the depots are protected. And it's up to the board to make sure that you put in systems to ensure that the depots at BOST are depots that every company will have the confidence to bring products in. That is very clear-cut. And that you should make sure on a daily basis if people are not, quite frankly, obeying these directives, that you expose them, that they are prosecuted and punished.
The chairs of the two boards pledged their support to government to achieve its targets of generating 5,000 megawatts of power by 2016.
The West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is to receive $8 million to support its postgraduate programs. The co-chair of the Global Network of Science Academies, Mohammed Hassan, tells Joy News WACCI is getting the amount after being selected as a World Bank Center of Excellence for its leading role in providing postgraduate training in plant breeding and crop production.
West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is among 15 selected university institutions in West Africa to benefit from the highly competitive Africa Center for Excellence project.
The World Bank has apparently realized finally that they should invest in universities and in centers of excellence within universities. So they started this project with the African Association of Universities, AAU, based in Ghana. But it is very, very important to realize that this is a competitive program and only the best can succeed in getting it.
The $8 million grant is to support WASI's postgraduate programs in crop production.
And that is very important because we need the new capacity, we need a new generation of talented agricultural scientists.
The $240 million project started with 15 centers of excellence in West African universities. According to Professor Mohammed Hassan, the project will expand to East Africa if it proves successful in West Africa.
6 illegal gold miners have emerged from an old South African mine in which dozens more are yet trapped. The men came out when it appeared that the threat of arrest, which has deterred others from leaving, had abated. The official rescue operation was suspended on Sunday after 11 miners agreed to come out. Other trapped miners refused to leave after discovering they faced arrest at the surface of the abandoned mine near Johannesburg. It is unclear how many remain underground, with reports suggesting they could number 200. The 11 freed on Sunday are now facing charges of illegal mining. The South African Press Association quoted police as saying. Japan's economy grew less than expected at the end of last year, countering forecasts it would see higher spending out of a sales tax increase in April. Gross domestic product rose by 1% on an annualized basis in a 3-month period to December, compared with market estimates for a 2.8% expansion. This was due to weaker private consumption and capital spending, as well as lower export figures. The latest figures highlight questions about the sustainability of Japan's economic recovery and whether the government's policy of Abenomics is working. Since taking office over a year, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has implemented an aggressive stimulus program aimed at weakening the value of the Japanese currency. The hope was that a weaker currency would spur purchases of Japanese products such as cars, since they become cheaper to buy abroad. The Japanese yen lost about 18% of its value against the US dollar last year as a result of his policies, but the boost to exports has been limited. Up to Indian Finance Minister Palaniapan Chidambaram has cut indirect taxes on cars and mobile phones in an attempt to boost economic growth. Chidambaram unveiled the move as he presented the interim budgets ahead of this year's general elections. In his speech, he expressed concerns over the health of the manufacturing sector and rising food prices. However, he adds that the economy had stabilized and was showing signs of a turnaround. The interim budget comes as the government's popularity has slumped amid a slowdown in growth and a number of corruption scandals in recent years. The elections are scheduled to be held by May, and the new government will present a full budget for the next financial year after it takes charge. Let's talk technology, and Google has acquired Slick Login, an Israeli startup behind the technology that allows websites to verify users' identity by using sound waves. It works by playing a uniquely generated, nearly silent sound through computer speakers, which is picked up by an app on the user's smartphone. The app analyzes the sound and sends a signal back to confirm the identity. The technology can be used either as a replacement for a password or as an additional security layer. Slick Login confirmed the acquisition on its website, but it did not provide any financial details of the deal. That's it for business, but Rashida Baba Tando brings us some sports news after the Stongwe.
Good afternoon, my name is Baba Tando. Time now to talk sports, and we begin with female soccer. And Ghana's hopes of reaching the 2014 African Women's Championship received a significant boost after winning 3-0 against Burkina Faso on Sunday. Now the Black Queens will go into the return leg in Accra with a 3-goal advantage as they attempt to return to the championship after missing out for the first time in 2012 since the inception of the biennial tournament in 1998. All 3 goals came in the first half of the match in Ouagadougou. A double from Faiza Ibrahim and a goal by Agnes Idiakon handed Ghana an important lead as they stay on course for one of the 7 places up for grabs in the final tournament to be staged by Namibia in October later this year. Faiza started the rout in the 3rd minute with her first of the evening before Idiakon made it 2-0 for Ghana in the 16th minute. 8 minutes later, Faiza was on hand again to make it 3-0 to cushion coach Yusuf Basigi's side ahead of the return game on the weekend of February 28 to March 2014. The winners of the 2-leg first-round matches will progress to the 2nd round to join African champions Equatorial Guinea, South Africa and Cameroon, who drew a bye in the first round. Now, there was action in the Italian Serie A. Ghana's Kojo Asamoah was on target, and Emmanuel Ajiman Bidu also provided an assist to set up a goal. Away from Italy, but still in Europe, Lionel Messi scored a brace as Barcelona trashed Rayo Vallecano 6-0, and Real Madrid moved back level on points with leaders Barcelona and Atletico Madrid at the top of the La Liga table with a comfortable 3-0 victory at Getafe. Now we're still staying in Spain. According to Barcelona boss Gerardo Martino, Lionel Messi can break any record he sets his mind to after the Argentina forward became the 3rd highest goal scorer in La Liga history. Now the 26-year-old's double in Saturday's 6-0 win over Rayo Vallecano moved him level with former Real Madrid striker Raúl on 228 La Liga strikes. His 228 La Liga goals have come in just 263 games, taking him above ex-Real Madrid man Alfredo Di Stefano's 227 goals in 359 games. And he now has Telmo Zarra, who has 251, and Hugo Sanchez with 234 in his sides. On a global level, he has already scored the most goals in a season, the most international goals in a season, and the most goals in a calendar year. He now needs only 6 more goals to overhaul Raúl's 71 to become the all-time record goal scorer in the Champions League. Right, so that'll be all for sports for now. Sports on Midday News is proudly sponsored by Cowbell and Tipo. My name is Baba Tando.
Thanks for staying on News Today. Now, Swiss authorities say the co-pilot of an Ethiopian airline plane flying from Addis Ababa to Rome has hijacked the aircraft and landed in Geneva. The hijacker, who has been arrested, waited for the pilot to go to the toilet to lock himself in the cockpit. He was unarmed. He has requested asylum in Switzerland. The airline said in a statement that all 202 passengers and crew were safe. Geneva Airport, which was closed for a time, has now reopened. An Ethiopian man born in 1983, the co-pilot has sought asylum due to fear of persecution in Ethiopia, police said at a news conference. U.S. President Barack Obama says he is deeply disappointed that Uganda is about to enact legislation criminalizing homosexuality. In a statement Sunday, Obama said Uganda's anti-homosexuality law would be a step backward and reflect poorly on the African nation's commitment to protecting the human rights of its people. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni told members of his party on Friday that he will sign the law. It calls for harsh sentences for homosexuality, including life imprisonment for what it describes as aggravated homosexuality. Homosexuality is illegal in 37 African nations, and President Obama said the U.S. has told Museveni that enacting the anti-gay measure will complicate America's valued relationship with Uganda. We'll stay on the African continent, and South Sudan's Foreign Minister Barnaba Marial Benjamin has been speaking about the new rounds will eventually help bring fighting to an end. Barnaba Marial Benjamin also says the 4 remaining opposition politicians being held will be released on bail after investigations by government has been completed. In neighboring Nigeria, an advisor to President Goodluck Jonathan, Alhaji Ahmed Gulak, has dismissed the opposition criticisms that the president has failed to root out corruption in his administration, despite repeated promises to do so. Alhaji Gulak's special advisor to Jonathan on political affairs also says the leader will soon decide whether to be the presidential candidate for the ruling PDP, following calls by rank-and-file members of the group to lead the party in next year's presidential, legislative and local elections. President Jonathan sacked some members of his cabinet after some governors, House of Representatives and senators from the ruling party defected to the main opposition, All Progressive Congress. The move prompted some opposition groups to conclude the government and the ruling party appear to be in a panic mood, but Alhaji Gulak says Jonathan is revamping his administration to improve the lives of Nigerians. Still in the country, suspected Islamist militants have killed more than 90 Christian villagers in an attack in northeastern Nigeria. Witnesses say the suspected militants dressed as soldiers attacked the village of Izege in Borno State late Saturday night. According to witnesses, the gunmen rounded up a group of men in the village and shot them before going door to door and killing anyone they found. Officials said they suspected the Boko Haram group was behind the attack. Boko Haram, which claims to be fighting to create an Islamic state in northern Nigeria, is notorious for extreme violence and indiscriminate attacks. Bodies in the streets. The senator of Borno State, where the attack took place, has told the BBC that 106 people were killed in the latest attack. Residents who fled the attack in the village said some of the victims were shot, while others had their throats slit. Glad you could stay on. Let's talk showbiz. And the 4th edition of Raquel's Cupid Pat came of Friday at the 2+233 Jazz Bar here in Accra. The sensational songstress ensured her patrons left the concert with lots of love memories. Raquel, who is well noted for her sensual moves during performance, treated her audience to a night full of love nostalgia. And Sarkodie was on hand to help her thrill the fans. Raquel described this year's Cupid party as one of a kind, with Sarkodie also adding how wonderful performing with Raquel is.
This year is a little bit more of a party, more like just a show. You know, usually people come and watch a show, but this is more like a party. Me and my fans just having a real good time, you know, talking about different types of love stories through music and conversation and dancing.
It's always beautiful. She's a wonderful soul in the first place. She is that type that she calms you down no matter what the situation is.
The sexy songstress, meanwhile, advised Ghanaians to patronize more of Ghanaian music. You're watching News Today. Our major stories for the year. Ghanaian officials and their Ivorian counterparts meet in Ivory Coast to start negotiations on delimiting the maritime borders. Japan's economy grew less than expected at the end of last year, countering forecasts it would see higher spending ahead of sales tax increase in April. Suez authorities say the co-pilot of an Ethiopian airline flying from Addis Ababa to Rome has hijacked the aircraft and landed in Geneva. There's more news on MyJoyOnline.com. Thank you very much for staying through the hour. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Goodbye.